Welcome back to the Observer Podcast. I'm your Multimedia Editor, Jaren Smith. I'm at the sighting of the Augie show, and I'm here with my guest, who will introduce himself.
My name is Peter Xiao. I teach in art department, painting and drawing at Augustana, and the show location is Wallenberg Hall.
So, speak to me about sighting at Augie, this art show, because when we talked the other day, I understand that this is the first time a faculty member, someone in your position, has done something like this. So kind of tell me the basics, to help, myself and our listeners understand.
It's only when someone was doing an article on this show that we sorted out that, in fact, no single faculty member has shown at Augustana Art Museum in the last, 30-some years that I've been teaching here. But then the art museum also, right now, is a center of visual culture, and there was teaching art museum, and there was art museum. So that has taken several transformations in terms of name. So I've been teaching here, and this is indeed an exhibition that was open to me to hang, basically curate and hang myself. Green light opened by the current head of the director of the Visual Art Center, the Center of Visual Culture, Vicky Phipps, with a direction from the previous provost. Because I've been teaching her for over 30 years across the 7th Avenue, I just immediately thought that the old Denkman Library, now renovated to be the Wallenberg Hall, if I have a show here, it would be a retrospective show for me. So it's my choice, and I'm kind of I'm a transplant from China, so I'm very direction oriented. So immediately I thought the east end of the hall would be my former life in China, and the western half would be roughly my years in America or at this college.
I understand, and seeing the show first time the other day, and kind of looking across the room now. My thoughts, as I walked around the room the other day, is just that thought each and everything was amazing, and it tells its own story, which my idea kind of regarding around not an individual work, kind of just as a whole, maybe kind of as the sighting of Augie, what is your motivation now when you're working on something, whether it be painting or drawing? Because I see you've had likely a vast amount of inspiration coming from your background as who you are, and until all of the works of art you have around this room. So what is your motivation that you have now, working on your art?
A good question, and thank you for that. I guess recount of a positive first impression of the show from last time. I think I remember you even asked me last time whether it was a student show or something.
Yeah.
Because I remember indeed the work that I've shown. Sometimes it's a thematic show, sometimes it's a group. I'm talking about actually one-person shows. Very often they do take on a kind of variety in terms of media or format. So I think we have a small program, and I try to expose myself to the trends, and also be responsible take it on as a responsibility to expose students to contemporary trends. So not limiting to one way of making or presenting art. Yeah, and that's why actually with this exhibition, especially at the opening, I'm trying to. I am breaking my own envelope a little bit to go a little beyond the object, art object as a material item. But anyway, I do find myself wanting to do have new experience each time as I paint. But I think the autobiographical components of this show mostly date to something like 12, 13 years ago, from the 2010 period, when I did a body of retrospective works that look at my own life, either in the 5-year or 6-year cycle at the time. And then so there are images that are shown here now that basically make use of a baby picture, one of the earliest pictures of myself with my family members, or describe or illustrate my experience, first memories in kindergarten. So it does kind of follow a kind of chronological order, but each image, when I make it, I try to make it in a way that it's a new attempt to capture a certain time in my life. For instance, there's one picture that I probably made 4 or 5 versions, and finally the only one that I've shown will be the one that's the first one that I began with. You know, so there's one picture that's added to the autobiographical series last year, and that captures my aging mother, aging or aged mother, because she's 97 now, and she's in Beijing, and she's still trying to keep busy, and that's a picture that is rather up to date, and it sort of put a cap on the autobiographical series. And there's one picture that captures the transformation of my hometown, Beijing, China, how it transformed from the old, almost like a medieval layout and the practice of living, as I remember when I was a child, even, to today, kind of a metropolitan city with a lot of ubiquitous international trade signs, McDonald's and everything else as its horizon. And then I already told my chair who organized this exhibition, or gave me the chance to organize this exhibition. One of the games that I have been recently playing was to swap some works with their labels. Yeah. So the newest swapping, and I told her that I would not be swapping anymore, is this a picture that from a public execution that I saw when I was a child in China, and the title would not be found in the labels because I swapped the work. Yeah. But the work actually would have 3 parts to it. One part was, it was strictly from the memory that I had from this work, from this time, this event. Rather traumatic. It's one person getting released right on stage as a surprise.
Gotcha.
To let go free. And one person in the middle looking to the side with envy because he was sentenced to 25 years. And then the last person, the dismal one in dark, was sentenced to death and executed right there,
Oh.
right up the hill, dragged by two soldiers,
Wow.
and put to death and tossed into a hole. I think it was that kind of a trauma. When I think of it now, it's almost like a movie. Like a movie scene that I was a part of,
Yeah, I can understand that, and it sounds like very cinematic, even though that I'd imagine for you in your shoes, like the background of like being a part of that to an extent from as a viewer, it just sounds very horrific. That might not be the right word, but it's almost like, wow, like you mentioned that you were younger, like a kid when you saw that, and that's just insane to think about.
But that kind of hot-blooded kind of action goes on every day, right? That's you at any mass shooting site or what goes on in the Middle East, of course. That kind of blood curdling kind of experience is with us. And even though this is a very, in my memory, is rather primitive kind of a practice of justice.
Right.
It suited that country, that social system, that region of the country. It's a rural place. And it fit actually with their sense of morality. It's pretty amazing,
I understand.
And I think the joke or rumor went that usually the person put to death, right, would owe the state like 28 cents for the bullet.
Okay. That's insane to think about. Something I wanted to add before transitioning to the next question is with you mentioning that with a lot of the works of art that you had, it kind of comes from your life to some extent, like your experiences. Something I want to mention is that, like, with me just as a person, with everything that I do, I try to incorporate my own experience into it. Like, it helps me as a person to at least incorporate my experience into it. Now, whether that's me vocalizing my experience with someone else or just kind of internally thinking it kind of helps me stay grounded in the conversation. And like, while at Augustana, I'm also a creative writing minor. And so something that, during my time here, I've written hundreds of poems, I've written a couple of short stories, and a lot of them, I draw inspiration from things that, I'm interested in or a part of my life and to some extent. But I just think for me is if I'm able to write something that, I'm interested in or find unique or that applies to me somehow, that helps me. And from what I understand with what kind of your story is, that also helps you. Like, by helps you, I more so mean is like you draw from your own background, which that's at least helped in terms of not motivation, just ideas on what am I going to attempt to paint or how do I want this to look.
No, so some author, as you would know, would claim that it takes the greatest courage to write about oneself. And some others may claim that anything that you write is actually about yourself. So I'm glad you're an aspiring writer, because I was when I was a student, I was double majoring in English and also art, and I cooped up in a room for a January term to write up a novella myself. So you're probably going through that kind of thing, and you missed an interesting talk last night in the Orion Building. There was I think a German writer, but she came from either India or Sri Lanka or Bangladesh. But anyway, it was a Swedish club, language teaching program, but Asian studies and women, gender, and so forth. There are several programs co-sponsored her to do reading.
Awesome.
And when she read, and she's supposed to this person writes in 3 languages.
Right.
And then and she's at the beginning she said that her poetry, she associates poetry with picture, but she associates novel writing or prose with sound.
That's awesome.
I know, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
I was almost thinking the opposite, you know. But then when she read from her book, you can just hear the flow of sound. It's just really, it was wonderful. But you know, yeah.
I understand. I want to take this back to you and your show. I know outside of Wallenberg, you have a stand that has like your bio, kind of what this it like citing at Augie is, and with your background,
Right, yeah.
you had an interesting quote on there from John Berger's Berger. Thank you for that. Painting is an extent. Painting that I might have miscopied it. Painting is an of the existent. I apologize for the fumbling of the words because it took me a minute because I was thinking
Is of the existent.
of the existent, right?
Yeah, okay.
I apologize for the fumbling, but how do you apply that to yourself and kind of what you do when you paint?
Very, very good. I'm so glad you brought attention to that. What he's saying is relating painting to the act of painting to everyday seeing. And he sees painting as the most direct way of affirming our existence, basically. Because we are an all-eye, attentive kind of a living person.
Right.
We keep our eyes open, and we watch all the time for the smallest changes in our environment, and it's often the very, very subtle changes in atmosphere, in color, in dark and light, in form, that they give us security, give us, but at the same time, all these elements, right, the things that are in our visual environment, if we're not blind, in our visual environment, are constantly changing. And of course, when you close your eye, they're all gone, right?
Right.
But as long as you keep your eye open and you're watching, things are just so rich and there's so much of it, and he's talking about that kind of correlation between seeing and painting and living. So that's a very powerful kind of thing for him to say. I just thought also it's a comment on the kind of painting that has nothing perhaps to do with the visual environment, meaning art has come a long way, and some of the practice nowadays, for instance, it's very cerebral. It's all from the subjective, and so much so that one gets easily shut off from the outside. And he's confirming. He's staking a ground that's saying that's probably too absolute or not so on a certain ground as art that relates to life. I think most people still relate painting to life, whereas art has progressed enough to go beyond, to disassociate with life. Yeah, artists like who practice art as wide range as Picasso would actually say that there's nothing that's abstract. that anything is starting from live material, basically.
I think I remember hearing about, I don't remember what class, but a professor's brought that up in a class before. I don't remember. I wish I remember the full lecture, but I'll let you keep going.
But that's Picasso said that there's nothing abstract. It's always from something. That thing he meant, something from life.
That's awesome. Another thing I want to ask is kind of with, like this quote, at least with me, like reading it and thinking about it, and something that you had said it kind of made me feel this way even stronger is that I'd imagine, like, with keeping your eye open to, things that you could paint about, I feel like also that kind of, you should keep an open mind about some of these things. Because, like, I'd imagine that even if you have, like, you're keeping your eyes open to all the different sites that you'd see, I'd imagine that you'd also have to keep an open mind towards it. Because I'd imagine it's like maybe if a specific day, maybe painting isn't going as well. Like maybe things weren't coming out the way an artist was hoping for. I feel like keeping an open mind might help them keep their eye open to the things that they'd see on a day-to-day basis. It's like, oh, this sunset the other day was beautiful. I'd love to, put this on a canvas. What do you think about keeping an open mind when it comes to painting?
I think the mind is always open. That's for sure. Keeping your eye open is keeping your mind open. Mm-hmm. That's why they say that eye is the what was it?
Eyes are the windows to the soul.
Window for the soul. Yeah. So for people who work in languages or music, mm-hmm. It's keeping the ear open, right? Hearing other people and hearing sounds and picking up on those, and even silence is it has meaning. Between eye and ear, I'm sure there's an argument on which way is more important, but both are very, very important for survival.
Right.
Maybe hearing just is just as crucial for survival.
I agree. So another question that I wanted to ask is, you mentioned earlier that since you've been at Augustana, no faculty member has put on a show like this. What does it mean?
Well, that sounds really pompous. No, I didn't mean that. There was
I can rephrase the question.
There was somehow an unwritten rule mm-hmm. that no faculty would get solo shows on this campus.
Okay.
And it was probably from several directorships ago.
I understand.
Who ran the art museum. So it was not a really a written rule.
I understand.
But it just hasn't happened. And I think when this show came up, it wasn't really. We only realized that, I guess, when this show came up, but then when I had my turn to show, it was right after we were talking about getting a retired faculty a solo show, but Rowan, who just retired last year, my colleague Weaver, and she has been here longer than I have. She didn't like the space, so she didn't get her show. So she could have had her one-person show here. So it's not like, and also this is just one person's show. It's not like, I didn't want it to sound like somehow my show is so special. Yeah. I
understand, and I apologize for framing it that way. What I more so was trying to, I guess, ask or see what your feelings were about it was that this is a solo show, and my time at Augustana, over the course of 2020 till now, I haven't seen or been as familiar with, more a solo show like this. Like I guess so. I guess where my interest in asking, so speaking about a show that's dedicated towards your work is, what does it mean to you to be able to do something like this?
I'll give you a catchy response. Yeah, the catchy response I was thinking the other day was, and I wanted my students to know this. Yeah, usually if we don't get a chance, yeah, we call others who have the chance opportunists, right? But everyone should be an opportunist when they have the opportunity. It's a good thing to have an opportunity, right? If we all have opportunities and there are no opportunists, or all of us are opportunists, that would be a happy world, right?
Right.
Yeah. So a wordy answer, but so I got I guess because I've had maybe 30 one-person exhibitions here and there. Usually it's in the place where I live. Yeah, and because the bulk of work and the mailing a whole bunch of work to a different city takes a lot more work. And I have done that, but usually these one-person shows will be in the region where you are. So I spent 5 years in Philadelphia, and I spent 35 years, let's say, in Iowa or Illinois. Yeah. So more shows are closer home here. What I'm saying is that I have accumulated plenty of work, and I keep making work. Mm-hmm. And every year my list from that year is longer in production. So I guess I'm at the peak, or I'm in my prime right now. Yeah, mm-hmm. I'm not ready to retire yet. Yeah, so that's the reason I think that when this hall needs to be filled by art, the idea of the previous provost, Vicky just turned to me after Rowan turned down the place, because the place was not ideal for hanging art. Yeah, and I encountered some of that difficulty here myself. But in any case, so it's a good opportunity that came along, mm-hmm. and I wanted to make the most of it. So, yeah, I didn't like the space myself, and we had to iron out some of the wrinkles. But it occurs to me that you could be on small campus, you could be in a small department with a few people, but when you have an opening in the community, in the area, I may get 3-4 people, usually from my department or maybe a couple friends, to come to an opening, mm-hmm. and that's in Quad City, small mm-hmm. town, right? On this campus, I doubt that most people, have seen my work. Mm. So, you could be, but I the same thing. My colleague could be publishing. I mean, a colleague who retired last year with Rowan, who works in sociology. And I learned that when he retired, that he published 40 books. 40 books.
That's insane.
I knew of one because he put a painting of mine on his cover, and I think there was a new edition, and he used it again. But anyway, he's a friend. But I didn't know that he had so many books. And I remember maybe 1 or 2 talks that he gave, and I went, and it was on celebration of learning, So even on a very small campus, your exposure is very, very limited, because we don't have that kind of time, for each other. So this is a very long-running show, longest show I would ever have, because it's from October through March. This show is through March.
So all of these paintings currently up right now,
yeah,
they'll be up until March.
Right.
Wow.
See,
I didn't know that part.
Yeah. I told you, it's an opportunity.
True.
because the center of visual culture is reconstructing its agenda, and also personnel, and putting together things. Yeah. So this space allows them to be also productive, or doing some good things, and then they're planning some other things that are, I'm sure, pretty elaborate and all that. This is basically giving me the place to run, and they gave me the material, and I hired a couple of work study students to help me hang them. So I am given total liberty to how to run where what goes. So that's opportunity.
And you having total liberty to kind of design how you want, the show to look. By that I mean,
Yeah.
all of this is in chronological order, starting from, some of your paintings to the right of the room, and like kind of as you walk around the room. I thought that was really, really cool. And you adding on the part, because initially, with what my understanding is that I didn't know how long that Sighting at Augie, the show was going to go on. Like, I understood through previous communication with you that it's open daily. Kind of like before getting that extra information from you, the way I just understood was maybe that like there's one specific day where a lot of people come, fill all these seats, and have the chance to look at your work. But I'm really happy you told me that, because it means there's a lot of time for people to take the opportunity to come here to be able to witness all of this, which that's amazing.
Yeah, maybe so far, I think maybe a dozen people have seen it.
Well, hey, hopefully we keep getting more and more dozens as March comes on.
I have 40 students in my class. One came. Okay.
Well, we need to get those other 39 students to come see this. Those are pretty much all of my questions I really had for you. Is there anything else that you would like to add about, like yourself, like with Augustana, or your art show?
Well, I just want to say that after the autobiographical material, I have a kind of teaching corner where basically things are either of the subject matter that I teach. So students do the same thing. I get the students to do the same thing, and actually some were done in the classroom, were with them. Yeah. And then of course there's that picture that is of Augustana that gave the show its title, because the show gave it its title. They fed each other in terms of title. And where I put the campus on a round surface, like a globe, where I jokingly sort of paired my own head with a bald spot, with the campus with the quad, and then clouds in the sky, Swedish Viking boat hiding in the clouds, and Chinese balloons in the air, or balloons in the air during the time when the Chinese balloon was shot down. And when that kind of incident happens, as a former Chinese citizen, I felt like immediately we would also, these immigrants would worry about being associated with a foreign state, right? So I put myself then detached in a balloon, looking down on the campus, which is in my own head. Anyway, so it became a kind of more intriguing work as it evolved, but mainly it was paying tribute to my own time spent here teaching, and seeing all the buildings that are gradually coming and going, actually. So the campus filling up with new buildings, recording that, but then also outside my building where I teach, I have my car and Rowan's car, who just recently retired, side by side. So it was like, before my own head even came into the picture, I was hoping that I was plotting to give this to the school in honor of Rowan. Now that my own head is there, it's not kind of not very appropriate. But then there are also some politically controversial, perhaps, or thought-provoking pieces that some were shown in Quasi-Arts before, and some are new. Especially the corner pieces are like last week additions to the show, as I was hanging it, and that were playing right into current politics. So I wanted to mention that.
I understand. I just want to thank you so much for your time. And, I really appreciate, being able to, witness, like everything, like in this room and, just to be able to sit and pick your brain about it a little bit more, because I do feel like I learned a lot. So thank you so very much. And toward our listeners, thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode of the Augustana Observer Podcast. I'm your multimedia editor, Jaren Smith, and I'll catch you next time.